Hello everyone and welcome back to VitoshAcademy. In today's episode, we are driving into the world of SOAP web services, and we'll be looking at them from two perspectives. So part one, we'll be using this website and we'll be working in the console here just to see what we can do with SOAP requests directly in JavaScript. So no server setup, no extra tools, just this website, dnionline.com, and the Chrome console. Yes, and what we'll be doing is we'll be adding, dividing, multiplying, and subtracting integers. Yes, as simple as it goes. And then we'll switch gears to the Python. And it would be like this inside Jupyter Notebook. And we will be using that website once again, here DNIOnline. And we'll be inspecting raw SOAP XMLs, calling different methods and seeing what happens behind the scenes. Pretty much what's the difference between calculator SOAP and calculator SOAP 12. Is it that the one is SOAP 1.1 and the other one is SOAP 1.2? Most probably. And then hopefully at the end, we would be able to add and multiply in Python simply using this SOAP web servers. So grab a cup of coffee or anything else and let's see what we can do with SOAP in the browser and with Jupyter Notebook. So let's start with what is exactly SOAP. It is not only something that you use to bath yourself and to clean yourself. It is an abbreviation for Simple Object Access Protocol. And as you can see on this picture, the exchange mechanism is using request and response. If we are using like SOAP request and SOAP response from the client to the server, and they have something called envelope, and in this envelope we have header and body. So instead of using JSON like the fancy modern APIs, we can use SOAP. And SOAP, so to say, hides or puts, it doesn't hide anything, everything is visible. It puts its parameters inside XML tags, so it makes SOAP very structured and self-describing. So pretty much this is the basic about SOAP. What else? The service tells the client exactly how the operations are available. I mean, if you take a look at this website, it actually says, okay, for example, the add, this is how we do it. We use integers as integer A and integer B. And if you want to make to sum three integers, then you first probably have to sum these two and then the third one. And it also tells you what format should be used. This is for SOAP 1.1 and for SOAP 1.2. It's pretty much the same with some difference. Okay, so let's prepare the part that we are interested in, pretty much here. Go to inspect, console, and this is where we will put our code. And it would be a function SOAP calculator, which I have already prepared. So you wouldn't have to wait for me to write it. This is how it looks. We press enter, everything is great. And let's take a look at the function. Okay, this is SOAP calculator. We have the operation, we have A and we have B. These are the parameters. Okay, OP is obviously the operation name. It's either add, divide, multiply, or subtract here. And then we built the SOAP XML envelope with the backticks, inserting the numbers here, integer A and integer B. So you see this one here is pretty much what we have here. Integer A, integer B. Okay, let's go back on the inspect console. and it disappeared, but I have it, I think, saved. Control V and enter. Yes, great. What else would be interesting to explain? Okay, this fetch is actually the magic. It sends it to calculator.asmx with the post method. Yeah, the correct header, and the body is this XML here. Then we read the server's XML response pretty much, and then we parse it and we return the result. Okay, so let's try something. Let's simply use SOAP calculator. Operation would be multiply, and we'll try to multiply 5 by 10, and we get 50. That's pretty much expected. Let's try 15 by 10. Okay, with multiplication we have no problem. Then let's try with, I don't know, probably add. Yeah, makes sense. Divide would be a bit challenging. Okay, it's 2. Well, that's JavaScript, and that is integer division. So obviously this is how JavaScript does it. Yeah. If we use 14 and 10, it gives 1. Okay, makes sense. And let's try the last one, subtract. With integers, we shouldn't have a problem. So 14 minus 10 is 4. That's great. Instead of writing here subtract, divide, add, and multiply, we can pretty much use a constant for them. For example, SOAP add would be something like AB, and this would be calling SOAP calculator add A and B. So instead of doing something, then we can use SOAP add now, and we can say 1, 2, 3 plus 10. And it returned a promise. Let's see what is in the promise. It's fulfilled, and it is giving him 133. That's great. And we can do the same for the other 3 functions. Yeah, let's try it like that. And we can use SOAP divide, and we can use something random just to see that it's returning integer. Well, it shouldn't be returning integer, but this is integer division in JavaScript, and this is not the most important part. So you can see, like, we are calling SOAP live web service live from the browser, and behind the scenes the following is happening. The server is reading our XML, pretty much that part here, and matching it to its WSDL definitions, doing the math, sending back another SOAP envelope with the result, and that's it. If you're curious what is WSDL, this is Web Service Description Language, and it is quite important in the SOAP technology. So far so good. Let's go to the Jupyter Notebook now and see what we can do there and how can we code this website from the Jupyter Notebook. So in the Jupyter Notebook, this is our first cell, and this cell actually imports the libraries. We are having quite a lot of them, like zeep, requests, LXML, so to say. Yeah, 3 is okay, and requests cache, it's a 4th one. We create a transport, we create the settings, enable the history plugin, and then we define the calculator URL like this, or I can remove the S just for the sake of it, or I'll leave it, yeah. So Shift Enter, and what can we do? We can check what we have. We have the settings, we have the transport, and we have the WSDL. Quite okay. So far, so good. Let's go with the second one. What is the second one doing? That's a more interesting question. Let's first write it down. So the second one looks like this. We define the client as none, mode as none. Just a reminder that in Python, almost everything, and by almost I mean everything, is an object. So we define client and mode. Then we define the build client from URL, defined as a string, and it returns the client. And we try some stuff with the mode. Then if there is an exception, we replace the HTTPS with HTTP. So it's good that I left the S here. And if there is an exception, the client and the mode are back to none. So Shift and Enter. Everything works perfect, no exceptions. Let's see the mode. The mode is HTTP. Okay, so it's already replaced behind everything. So behind the curtains, we can write replaced, for example, here. Yeah, makes sense. Or mode replaced, or HTTP is replaced. Yeah, that makes sense. And the mode is HTTP. Okay, so far so good. Probably we should make some kind of a if, saying if client is none, like a runtime error. But in our case, we can simply check it, and it's obviously that client is not none. So it's great. I can write something like, yeah, client is none. But yeah, runtime error here would be also useful. So far, so good. Let's continue and let's think, what can we do? It's interesting that we can take a look at the client. So I'll just define the WSDL. And it's a string actually, and it would be active mode. Let's see what we have. Yep. And what else? Client.wsdl.services. Let's see what we have. Quite a lot of things. Total values. Yeah, okay. A bit more. And what if we have just like this? Yeah, we have the location. Fair enough. So these are all the services, and if you remember in the intro, I said that calculator SOAP 12 is related to SOAP 1.2, and just calculator SOAP is related to SOAP 1.1. And these are all the services that we have, and let's find a way to list them. I have prepared a function to do this, and it's actually really useful. Looks like that, and it's called like this: list operations robust, and we can call client, and for a label we can say WSDL, and nicely everything is listed. So we have the calculator service with 2 ports, port calculator SOAP and calculator SOAP 1.2, and we see all the 4 operations are present. Okay, let's find a way to make a safe call now, so to say. This is the definition for a safe call. Yeah, everything's cool. If you know what these 2 stars are for, then write it in the comments. If not, watch one of my oldest videos, I think around 4 or 5 years ago. I think I have explained this one. Yes, so let's think, how can we call something here? So safe call would be something like add, and then we say integer a is 12 and integer b is 24, and on magic we have 36. So somehow this save code from here has given this operation, and this is the client.service operation, and then the key wargs, which are obviously these two, and these get attributes of the client service actually returned us somehow magically 36, which is, so to say, great. Can replace it with something else like I don't know, divide, multiply, or subtract, I think was. Yeah. Oh no, no operation subtract. Was it subtract? Yes, subtract 12 and minus 12. Let's try like this. Yeah, everything's great. And let's try, I don't know, 36, so we can get 12, and we are in the positive side. That's kind of interesting. And as you remember at the beginning, I said something about getting history here for the history plugin. And it would be interesting here how to do it. So let's see how history was made. And we are interested in the last exchange. So what we can see is we can use the sent and the received, and we can pretty much show them. So this is the show last exchange history thing. And in our case, we have this history. So before using this function, let's see what is in the history. Pretty much nothing. Okay, just a fancy object. Yeah. History. Okay. So let's give this object here to the parameter, see what is going to happen. Okay, SOAP request, this thing here, and after this the sent, and then SOAP response, this thing here, and after hit the received. So SOAP request looked like this. We gave 36 and 24. Correct, this is what we gave, and we received 12. Let's try it once more, just for the sake of it. Something like this. And it works. We gave 360 and 2400, and we received minus 2040. And we also have the subtract here, which is actually something that works. Okay, so far so good. Now let's try to break it. How do we break it? Well, we're going to divide by 0 and see what is going to happen. So divide 10 by 0. Yeah. And it says that it takes one positional argument, but 3 were given. Just reminding you, if you remember what KWARGS means, write it in the comments below. It would be interesting just to see how many people are following this video up to here, talking about where was the KWARGS. So what is wrong with this one? It should be integer a and integer b. Yes, so it said divide SOAP fault system web services protocols exception Server was unable to process the request. System overflow exception, arithmetic operation resulted in overflow. Yeah, 10 divided by 0 can result in anything. I don't know, probably this is something related to neonline.com and the way they track it. So let's use the last exchange to see what's happening. Our request is perfect. We said 10 divided by 0 and divide. And then the response from the SOAP, actually, from the schema of that website that we are using, neonline.com, says that there is an arithmetic operation resulted in overflow. So far, so good. Okay, let's fix it. Let's make 100 divided by 10 and see how everything is fun. So 100 divided by 10 is 10 and everyone is quite happy. What can we do? Well, we can, as a bonus, so to say, we can use this one just to show you why we shouldn't be using it in the real life, because it's like integer sum and integer division, but it looks good for a illustration of how SOAP works. So let's say that pi is equal to 3 and you're going to use the circumference and the radius would be float, of course, and our circumference would be returning float. So if radius is less than 0, we would raise value error. Radius must be positive. And now let's try to call the multiplication. So first one is safe call multiply integer 1 is going to be 2, integer b is going to be pi. I'm not going to use pi equal 3, it's ugly. I'm going to use it like this. And then second one is safe call, again multiply integer a equals first one, and integer b equals the radius. And then we are returning the second one. Yeah, fair enough. And let's see how it works for radius in 0, 1, 2, 500 and minus 5. Let's have something negative. Print. What do we print? Radius equals radius bigger than 4. That's for the formatting. And then we'll be having circumference. Circumference like this equals circumference past r. And we'll be having here also bigger than 4 for the formatting. Let's see whether it works. Of course not. Why doesn't it work? Oh yeah, I know, because of this and then that. Okay, we have a value error and we are not ignoring it, which is good. Minus 5. And we see that it's actually, okay, just the first one is correct. Everything else is not correct. What if we need to have the correct one? Let's have it like VS, and then we multiply 314 times 2 times the radius here. Yes. and the string ends here. Yeah, so it's 6 versus 628, it's 12 versus 1256. Yeah, I mean, it's really better to not to use integer division or integer multiplication for almost for anything. Yes. So far so good. Let's summarize what we have done. So in summary, we have started with our browser, explaining how the SOAP exchange mechanism works. Pretty much we have a client and a SOAP request within an envelope with header and body going to the SOAP server, and it returns us pretty much a SOAP response in an envelope with a header and a body. Fair enough. And with more details here, what has happened is pretty much a bit more interesting. The browser has created a post method. So the post created an XML, which is here, and it has sent the XML to the server. So XML has taken a look at it, pretty much these integers, and has returned another SOAP XML, and this SOAP XML was displayed in the browser. And let's simply see how SOAP subtract is going to work here. So something like this should return 100, and this is perfect. And in the other part, in the Jupyter Notebook, we have started with importing few libraries, the WSDL, explicitly writing it here. It's with HTTPS, but if it returns us an error, which actually it does, if you take a look here in the website, you would see that I'm using, you wouldn't see, let me see, you would see that I'm using not secure, and it's not secure because it's HTTP only and not HTTPS. It's up to you what you're going to use. So yes, in our case, later we are using HTTP replaced. So if you take a look at the client, I'm using HTTP, just HTTP, not HTTPS, so just FYI. Then we see the active modes, and the active is HTTP. Then we do something interesting. We list all the available functions, so to say, or features that we can call in the SOAP. I'm not sure about the correct word. Here, the word operation is used. So let's say operation. It's on 2 ports, one for SOAP 1.1 and one for SOAP 1.2. Then we make a safe call. And if you remember what KWARGS use is for, then write something in the comments. Yeah, the safe call is subtract. And we have here show last exchange in the history. And it has nice request response, pretty much. We have here tempuri.org as the word here was namespace, because this is pretty much the default namespace of ASP.NET. And you can see it here. Here, where this web service is using tempuri.org as default namespace. So yeah, we're using the same. If you do something in production, never use tempuri.org. Use some namespace based on a website that you own. If you don't own a website or a URL, I mean, or domain, don't use this technology. Then we have a safe code divide, we have the show last exchange, and here we simply make a function that makes 2 safe calls and returns the last one. And we just make a comparison how making a circumference calculation with integer only multiplication is really not a good idea in general. Yeah. And so far so good. I hope you enjoyed the video, enjoy the rest of your day or night, and take care of yourself. Goodbye.